It is a very good evening wherever you are tuned into Nigeria's number one talk station, 99.3 Nigeria Info. 18 minutes gone past the 6 o'clock hour. Welcome to the Newsroom, a program where we take a critical look at the big stories that have made the rounds in the course of the last 7 days. Ufuoma Egbamuno is my name, your regular anchor on the show. And on today's show, we'll be taking a look at the drama that marred this year's JAMB examinations due to, of course, technological glitches. That was our conversation last week. And of course, in the course of the week, we had the registrar of JAMB give a press conference where he admitted responsibility for the not so great examinations that the exam body conducted, and of course talked about the fact that students from Lagos and the 5 eastern states were going to have a resit of the examinations. Well, over the weekend that resit has happened, but it does look like it hasn't been great, even with students retaking the examinations. Anyway, that is what will get us talking on the show today. Hopefully, we're going to speak to 2 students on the show today who had issues in the first exam and had to rewrite their exam again today. I've also got a guest in the studio. Well, I don't even know if to call him a guest. Actually, part of the Newsroom production, a colleague in the Newsroom, who doesn't have a child yet, old enough to take JAMB, just like me. But of course, as a parent or a guardian, has had to see a lot of Nigerians go through not so great challenges in the course of the last couple of weeks. First of all, the fact that they need to wake up as early as 4 a.m., some people 3 a.m., to get ready to go to these JAMB centers for the accreditation starts at 6:30 a.m. There was so much hue and cry, weeks ago when the exams took place for the very first time. But it did not stop JAMB from doing exactly the same thing over the weekend, ensuring that people, got up as early as possible to make the accreditation at 6:30 a.m. with all the attendant challenges that came with. Anyway, before we go straight to that, let's let you know some of the big stories from last week. We did report that at least 10 people were killed in Riom local government area in Plateau State in renewed violence there. And of course, residents of Bafara town in Sokoto fled their homes after the bandit leader gave them deadline. I just talked about the JAMB issues. Of course, that was arguably the biggest story from last week, and it will get us talking later on the show. Some good news in some good news in terms of security. The president inducted 2 new Augusta 109 Tracker helicopters into the Nigerian Air Force fleet. And of course, a bill that will ban government agencies from buying foreign-made vehicles past second reading. Here in Lagos, some good news. We did tell you that the state government was able to record 1.3 trillion naira revenue for last year, 2024, and it was a record. And of course, repairs on the Jora Marine Bridge began yesterday, the 18th of May, according to the Federal Ministry of Works. Those were some of the stories we brought your way last week. And of course, I did tell you that we will have one of the students who took this weekend's examination, talking about JAMB, and also did the initial one last time around. We'll have 2 of them join us on the show. But just before I get them on the show, well, let me introduce my colleague who is sitting like one big man, a guy. Ikechukwu Oyemike is in the building. Ikechukwu, welcome to the Newsroom this evening.
Ufuoma, good evening. It's always a pleasure to be here. And of course, na big man I be, you know.
Send me something now.
Don't forget.
Send me something.
By the way, congratulations to you.
Why are you? I heard that
the latest daddy in town. My brother.
Marianne has first of all done her own earlier today.
Congratulations.
It was supposed to be in house.
Yes, yes.
It was supposed to be in house.
Yes.
But y'all are putting it out in the anyway,
you're making
guys.
it look like you could do such a thing and keep it in house.
Okay, just in case you are wondering what Ikechukwu is on about, like he just said codedly.
I talk with my Fuma too.
I had a bouncing baby boy earlier today.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. You know, saw the pictures this morning while I was in the manager's meeting, and you know, a little shed of tear almost popped up. But hey, it is what it is. So congratulations to me. Let's leave it at that. Yeah. But let's get straight into the matter. Looks like we're having a bit of a challenge with the call. Hello? Okay. The phone line's acting up. Let's see if we can try other. But just as we're waiting to get one of the students join us on the show this evening, Ikechukwu, one of the issues that I couldn't wrap my head around, you know, last week was first the accusations, you know, against the JAMB registrar that all the issues that happened had ethnic sentiments. You know, all of those accusations came because, of course, the majority of the states affected was from a region, or it seemed like it was a deliberate attack on a region. And then it now turned into a tribal war, especially on social media. It became a Yoruba versus Igbo thing, you know, which, quite frankly, I couldn't wrap my head around. But before we get your thoughts on the conversation, I do have one of the students who retook the JAMB examination joining us on the newsroom this evening. A very good evening to you, Lucas. Welcome to the newsroom on Nigeria Info.
Good evening.
Can you hear me very well?
I'm hearing you. Good evening.
All right, good evening. Quickly, I would like to know what your experience was like writing the first examination and what it was like having to take the retake over the weekend.
The first exam was very difficult.
Could you speak up a bit? I'm struggling to hear you.
It was a very big issue fighting the first exam. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Give me more details. What was the experience like?
Like, we had a lot of issues like system turning off, not doing every time. It was a bad thing happening here.
Okay. Yes, so you were one of those who, you know, had issues, and it was confirmed from JAMB that you had issues, so you had to take you had to receive the exams over the weekend, right?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I was part of them.
Okay, I don't know if it's the phone connection or if it's your voice, but we are struggling a bit to make sense of your thoughts. If you can hear me, let me ask the question again. You retook the JAMB exams over the weekend, right?
Yes.
Okay, maybe we'll try and call you back. Let's see if it's the connection. We will try and call you back. That's, of course, apologies, Lagos, for that. Sometimes these things can actually happen, you know, on a live show. At the end of the day, we will try and get Lucas back. We'll try and get Lucas back on the line so that we can, you know, make more sense of what he had to go through So we have Lucas back on the line now. No, we don't. But as we're trying to sort that out of production, Ikechukwu, what do you make of this whole hula baloo that happened over the last couple of weeks as it concerns JAMB?
So thank you very much. I will try not to toe the ethnic line in analyzing or putting my view over the whole issue, because I understand quite well what ethnicity has done to the country, the divides and all. And
especially in the last 2 years.
Yes, and I know how it could boil easily at the tip of any event or occurrence of things as it happens in the country. So the JAMB thing, I could also excuse that, okay, maybe it just was one of those things that just happened. I can't explain for it being major in the southeastern states. You can excuse that for JAMB. While you can also say the tribal issues or ethnicity issues that have been on ground also just had a way of coming into the JAMB conversation when the JAMB thing happened. But for me, on the overall, is how sincere and how prepared JAMB as a body has always been before exams over time. And the way when after the registrar apologized, how a lot of people reacted. Even before the apology, the Minister of Education came into, there was this blame game initially, why most of the blame were tending towards the students as not being serious, as being Gen Z, as being people who are
spend a lot of time on TikTok and Instagram,
usual or perpetual malpractice. Is there any word like malpracticers? If I could borrow that word.
Yvonne will tell us she's the English teacher.
So with all that blame game, while I stood on the ground that I don't believe 1.5 million students would be so dumb out of 1.9 million for the mass failure. And the admittance by JAMB after kind of justified my stand. And the minister jumped into the matter immediately after the result came out and said the technology that had been put in place was the reason why the student performed so poorly, because they couldn't cheat. As if admitting that you have 1.5 million out of 1.9 million as dons who don't know nothing. These are supposed to be your future. And you're seeing them as dons and you are proud of.
It was quite embarrassing. Is not the word. It doesn't even explain it better.
Things you should be ashamed of.
It just feeds into the narrative by a lot of persons, myself included. That unfortunately the APC government has sort of failed to understand that there's a difference between playing politics and governance, because a lot of the things the government does, and this starts all the way from the Buhari government since 2015, runs on propaganda, runs on let's hit the press and create a narrative, because it was quite astounding getting to hear the minister say, it's because of policies that the federal government put in place and JAMB put in place. This is the reason for this mass failure. And 1 week after the JAMB registrar has admitted that this was an internal issue. I haven't heard, what's his name again? Tunja Lausa. He
hasn't said anything.
And I'm calling him out here. He's basically been mum.
Ordinarily, he should be apologizing to the Nigerian students, especially in the category of those who wrote the JAMB, because as a government, you have a responsibility to understand that regardless of what you say, there are implications. You coming to admit that 1.5 million, because saying that means you're telling me 1.5 million over 1.9 million is not something that bothers you to say they failed, which by your implication means they all cheat, and because of the technology they could not. But for them to be to cheat during exam, it means they don't know nothing and they don't have anything upstairs. So academically, they are danger to the future. The future you intend to leave the country behind for, because of course all of us at this age will pass at some point and leave the coming ones to take over. So if they don't know anything, how will they take care of the future? Then the higher institutions that also came behind the registrar, LASU came, Unilorin came, and I begin to wonder, because if you look back in 2005 was when, if memory serves me right, 2005 was when the higher institutions started doing a secondary exam.
Post UTME.
Post UTME. It usually was you do JAM, then you
I think it was 2006.
If you pass your cutoff, you get admission. Yeah. Then they started doing their own gating, extra gating, because of the issue of credibility and integrity on the part of JAM. Now the same JAM conducted an exam that students performed so woefully and later came a week after to admit, and you are coming to say you're standing behind the registrar who was in charge, or who is in charge of such an institution. The same you that said you don't trust what they do and you started doing your own exam.
Ikechu, we will come back to that conversation about, statements put out by higher institutions, because I thought it was quite embarrassing. But we've got Lucas back on the line. Lucas, good evening again to you. Can you hear me very well now?
Yes, very well.
Okay, so I was asking, what was your experience again over the weekend when you had to write JAM a second time as a result of the issues you had the first time?
I would say there was a lot of issue impact on the system. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're not organizing that particular place I did the exam.
What center? Where was the center?
At Egbe.
Egbe, that's the cartoon axis.
Yes.
Okay. So what exactly was the issue that you experienced at the center?
Turning off a system, like the system just used to log us out for no reason. I don't know, they didn't tell us the problem, they just told us to keep putting our registration number to continue our exam. It's very annoying.
So what was the issue you had the first time? Was it the same thing?
Yes, it was the same thing. And same center.
Same center, same thing.
Yes.
Okay. So what did the officials, or the people who own the center, the CBT center, what did they tell you at the end of the day?
I didn't say anything. They were just like, before we started the exam, they only advised me about what happened to people that stayed at first just because of the first result that came out. That's all they said. And after the exam, they didn't say anything.
Sorry, could you repeat what you said? I didn't hear you very well.
They only said things before we started the exam about people who chewed their face and the first exam we did, the result came out. So after that, they didn't say anything.
All right, Lucas. We want to say thank you for joining us on the newsroom this evening.
Thank you.
All right, Ikechukwu. This seems, like a bit of a recurrent decimal. I've heard a few persons, I've seen a few complaints online that have said that, hey, the issues we actually had the first time, it has not been corrected. And which brings me to the question, why was there, I understand JAM did say that because, of course, WAEC examinations are ongoing, there's a need to look at the calendar to avoid clashes, because quite a number of people writing JAM are also writing WAEC. But it also begs the question, why the need for the rush 2-3 days after the apology and the admittance of errors? It doesn't quite sit well with me.
So you will wonder, like, I don't know if many people told that line of thought with me. I saw that tears the JAM registrar shed as crocodile in my own view. Because if there was sincerity in it, you don't cry today, apologize crying, and you set the retake the next day or 2 days after. So from what Lucas said now, you could tell clearly that the centers probably didn't do nothing to upgrade or correct the errors that led to the first mistake.
The problem.
So you must be a lover of miracle. You must be like a die-hard miracle fan to expect anything real to come out of such a short notice for a retake. It just tells you the kind of society we are in, how the kind of leadership system that we have, if at all you have to call them leaders, because you can't expect anything good if the foundation is not right. We need to do a forensic on JAMB. Its previous exams, like I've always said, this year, yes, maybe the power of social media made us see these old things clearer. But are you sure the same thing didn't happen last year?
It's not.
So the trend that they keep talking about in the past 10 years has been failure all the way. Are you sure this? Because it's still the same centers. Not like they built new centers.
Which brings me to the question of I thought, like I said, it was quite embarrassing from the officials of the Lagos State University, of the vice chancellor of the University of Ilorin. I called it on social media akparakpo. I don't know if you're maybe it's those of us from Delta that will understand what that means, but in local parlance, when you are doing
now we
oh, this guy is my guy and my friend, let me now on one hand I might want to understand the whole point of the universities coming out to put out a statement in defense of the integrity of the vice chancellor. Has he done well over time that he's been registrar? Maybe a lot of people will say yes.
Can we actually say he has done well?
Well, maybe that's not the focus of the conversation
because
today.
I believe the cumulative effect of whatever he has done so far is what he's telling now.
Maybe, but the point is the incident in 2025 is not about the integrity of, in my opinion, of the person himself. This is an agency failure. Yeah. This is failure that government, has had, where parents, students, guardians have been put through traumatic experience. One person, at least that we know, committed suicide. It's not. Do you understand the effect that has on the family of that girl in Ikorodu? The parents, the siblings, the family members would have to live with this tragedy for the rest of their lives. And then an institution of learning, I would think that when things happen like this, you distance yourself away from people who have had their integrity questioned.
Which is a smart thing to do.
Sean Diddy Combs, he's been going through a lot. You see how everybody is running away. Nobody wants to.
Aside.
Exactly. But in Nigeria, the opposite is the case. An institution of learning, and I'm calling them out specifically, Lagos State University, University of Ilorin. I think there's another one again from, is it Fuoyi? I don't know the full, what's it called?
Oh, yeah, or something.
Yeah, I think so. Putting out statement, we can't. Come on. It's quite embarrassing that somebody has overseen arguably the worst entrance examination in the country, and all you have to do is let's do Parakpo, let's protect his integrity.
You see, Benjamin Kalu, the Deputy Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, said recently, there's need for a forensic examination of the entire process for the JAMB examination in the last 10 years, if possible. This CBT I it started 2013. We should check it because with the way things happen in Nigeria, with the way things are run in Nigeria, you need to really confirm if these centers, these CBT centers, were actually certified correct and okay for these exams. Lucas just confirmed now that even at the point of retake, where you would expect that for every reason the systems should be up and running and okay, they still had glitches. So it therefore means that there was nothing done to the systems in most cases. What were the monitoring and evaluation processes done to these centers before the exams were taken? They did mock UTME exams. What did they take off it? What lessons, what corrections did they make? Are we sure this same issue was not what happened last year? Are we sure it wasn't what happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And you keep saying students have, with the kids we have these days.
The educationist who was on Downfall Conversations with Reti Bakari Yusuf on Friday, I think I remember vividly in that interview, when he was asked about whether or not the JAMB registrar should, resign. Quite a number of them who have been part of that conversations, who are part of that investigations, have all come out to say, oh no, he shouldn't resign. This is not a resignation thing. I read an article over the weekend by one of my favorite writers, what's that his name, Perogi, he did put out clear instances where this kind of situations have happened, in developed countries, in the US, in the UK, these are technological issues. They could happen. Quite understand all of that conversation. But then again, a day after that interview he had, right here on Nigeria Info, I saw him again on Twitter complaining about, that was on Saturday, about
how the retake was not even.
It was for want of a better word, it was embarrassing.
I believe before anyone could take any stand of say he should not resign or he should resign, we need to do, like I said, a forensic and backdate it into some years.
Personally, I'm not even. It's not even a question
from
of
before now
whether he resigns
and really
or not.
Because if you can establish this systemic or generational failure, if there's any word like that, at least backdating into like 5-6 years from before now, if you can establish these glitches, it simply means JAMB has failed and the person at the ends of affair failed.
Unfortunately, like I did mention, when we're having this conversation in the newsroom, the integrity of the exam body, I don't know how JAMB is going to recover, from the mess of 2025, because whatever JAMB does going forward, people would always have these question marks, even when they do it right. Unfortunately, even when they do it right, people will still have these question marks. And when you have that reputational damage, my goodness, I don't know how you're going to come away from it. But we'll just leave the conversation there. Unfortunately, time is not so on our side, so we will let it go and then move on to the second segment of the show. We call it the Newsroom Lagos. And of course, on this segment of the show, the Newsroom Lagos, let us let you know that we're looking at the projects by the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure today. Lagos State Government, through the Lagos State Materials Testing Laboratory, has reaffirmed its commitment to construction safety, I should say, by enforcing strict testing of building materials across the state. Speaking during the 2025 ministerial press briefing, the agency says structural integrity must never be compromised. Of course, when you consider the fact that just some hours ago, about 24 hours ago, we had the building collapse in Lagos, where at least at the last time I checked, one person was confirmed dead. Well, the Special Advisor, Officer of Works, Engineer Adekunle Olayinka, had some things to say. Let us take a listen to what he had to say.
Two agencies are quickly touch on, main activities. So, Lagos State Infrastructure Asset Management Agency, NASIAMA, the agency has implemented several projects to improve and maintain public infrastructure assets, creating employment and opportunity for small and medium-scale businesses to thrive. It is reassuring that priorities are given to the education and health sectors in the aggressive pursuit of public facilities overall. School facilities management and maintenance exists to support the primary purpose of education. The core responsibility of LASIAMA in this regard is to ensure that through the provision of quality maintenance services, teachers and students operate in an environment that is safe, healthy, and responsive to education. LASIAMA also implemented maintenance frameworks for teaching hospitals, general hospitals, MCCs, etc., through the engagement of facility managers who have the responsibility of coordinating daily and routine maintenance of the medical facilities in the state. Extensive renovations of many of these buildings are ongoing in several ministries within the secretariats to facilitate the delivery of public services. Distinguished gentlemen of the press, I am pleased to inform you that as an administration, we are aware that providing basic infrastructure such as office buildings, hospitals, schools, etc. is a necessary condition for an economy to function. We're also equally aware of the attendant impact of building resilient infrastructure, which will not only generate a strong economic base for the productivity of our people, but will also increase employment and foster innovation.
That was Engineer Olayinka talking about how the agency is making efforts to create employment opportunities and opening space for small and medium businesses to thrive, especially those involved in maintenance and facility management. Well, he also talked about the fact that from roads to bridges to office buildings and residential structures, the agency conducts comprehensive tests to guarantee that each project aligns with existing legal and engineering standards. Take a listen to him once again.
So the second agency, the Lagos State Material Testing and Laboratory Agency, it is quite noteworthy that the ministry, the administration of Mr. Governor, Mr. Obasanjo, and the Deputy Governor, Dr. Bakana Hamzat, determined to align risk mitigation and identify any potential safety hazards or issues related to the materials utilized, empower the Material Testing and Laboratory Agency to detect problems that could emanate from the whole construction process. Lagos State Material Testing and Laboratory Agency submits various quality control measures adopted to curb incidences of building collapses and the significant impact made from slated tests conducted on construction materials used on sites across the state. This overture underscores the critical role that material testing plays in ensuring the safety, durability of infrastructure erected within our bustling state. For safety assurance purposes, the essential factor is the construction of a solid foundation, which is the core of every structure, to ensure that all conceptual edification is durable and unaffected by external environmental factors. Screening safety. The screening safety is a predominant factor in checking for structural integrity. Testing these materials rigorously guarantees that they meet the required standards of safety, which will be a non-negotiable requisite in protecting the lives and properties of Lagos citizenry. Hence, conducting construction checks to verify the quality and safety of materials being used predisposes the structural integrity of buildings, roads, bridges, and other infrastructure components to prevent collapses, failures, or accidents that could endanger lives and property. Lagos State Material Testing has been at the forefront of ensuring that all constructed compliance with standards using building codes and regulations as the predominant basis to confirm that materials being installed on site meet mandated standards in adherence to extant legal requirements.
Lagos, you have been listening to the Special Advisor, Office of Works, Engineer Adekunle Olayinka. But I can also tell you for a fact that he did talk about some of the completed and ongoing projects in the state. Once again, let's listen to him.
So in line with the policy of the state government to provide equal and timely delivery of justice to the citizenry and to deepen the operational efficiency of security apparatus and agencies that enforce law and order, the state has been providing infrastructure support for the Nigerian Police Force by constructing the Police Model Area Command renovation works at the Lagos State Code of Conduct Bureau and Magistrate Court, as well as the construction of citizens mediation centers. The Office of Works has provided to completion the recently commissioned warehouse for the Lagos State Judiciary, that's the Sheriff Department, at Majido, Ikorodu. The purpose of this project is to enable the Sheriff Department keep confiscated materials, items, and other valuable assets or assets found at a debtor's place of business or home pending when the case is adjudicated by the courts. Also, to further strengthen the justice administration system, the Office of Works is currently supervising the renovation of magistrate courts at the GIC Taylor Magistrate Court in Osheri, Lagos Island, Igondo, Ogba, and Ikeja Magistrate Court as well as the construction of judges and magistrate courts, quarters, Ekwen, construction of Police Model Area Command at Elema Office 2, and construction of Alausa Police Barrack, Alausa. To ensure an efficient and cost-effective mode of adjudicating disputes that directly and affect the economic and commercial activities of Lagos State, Mr. Governor commissioned the Commercial Court at Tapa, Lagos Island on the 16th April 2024. A court complex to be used solely by the Commercial Division of the High Court of Lagos State consists of 12 courtrooms on the 5 suspended floors, general hospitals and health centers. Infrastructure roadmap for health sector is being championed by the Office of Works, with the primary goal of revamping health facilities across the state's primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare system. The prototype of a new remodeled and upgraded healthcare infrastructure in the state was planned to conform with key elements of global standards. The construction of the 480-bed general hospital in Ojo has generated about 180 jobs and is at 59% completion.
Lagos, that was the Special Advisor, Office of Works, Engineer Olayinka, giving his thoughts. I do know that the governor of Lagos State also commissioned one project today, block of homes somewhere along the Ikwari Surulere axis. Was not mentioned, or maybe it was mentioned, I don't know. But you can follow the activities of the Lagos State government on Facebook, Lagos State government, and on X, that's Twitter, at follow LASG, that's Lagos State government, at follow LASG, that's the Twitter handle, Facebook, the Lagos State government. So of course you can see the other projects that are either ongoing or has been completed, because of course time not so on our side to reel out all of this. But special thanks to the Lagos State government for partnering with us right here on Nigeria Info to bring you this part of the show. That will be my cue to wrap up the newsroom this evening. I'll be back again, hopefully next week, Monday. That's if I've not traveled to go see my new baby. But hopefully I should be here next week, Monday. Thank you to everybody who sent messages on WhatsApp and on Twitter. Unfortunately, I can't read all of them because we do not have time, but we appreciate all your thoughts. The newsroom comes up once again next week, Monday from 6:15. Up next is our basketball show, Courtside. Until then, stay safe, people.
.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.